Hi, my name is Colin Galliano. I'm 17 years old and I'm a senior at North Kingstown High School. And my question is for anyone on the panel, and it is kind of going to introduce a little bit first. I believe that the solution revolves around unity. That is the unity in the idea that climate change is an issue that can be solved. The current political climate in the U.S. is one of extreme polarization, and nothing will continue to get done unless climate reform becomes a bipartisan goal. So how do you go about uniting the United States government?
Who wants to take that one? Well, Mark's jumping in. Look at this guy.
What's it say? How do you unite the government, the U.S. government? So I don't have an answer to that question, but I would like to say something that's related because Mike had said to all of us, please come prepared to talk about some solutions. And so the thing that I was going to say is, I think that I have lots of thoughts on various solutions, but I think really the biggest one is voting. Choosing to vote for people at all levels, from local officials all the way up to the president, who are on record saying what they want to do to address climate change. And not just, we have let a lot of our politicians slide on this for a long time, and we just can't anymore. We can't let them slide anymore. We must demand that all politicians have some kind of platform on this issue. They need to have thought about it. And until we demand that of them, they're not going to, because that's how politicians roll. They don't want to have to say something and be held to it. So this is a really important detail that I personally think is one of the most important things we can do to drive action on this.
And also I would just add, make sure to see who they appoint to certain things. Make sure that, not only that they're, what they're saying in the campaign trail, but making sure that they're actually appointing people to say, whatever, say the CRC, that these are actually environmentalists, that they're actually people who care about the coastal resource management, that they have a background in this, that, they're not getting it because they got brownie points. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I listened to this very briefly on my 2-minute commute in my nice car. I was listening to NPR, and there was like a representative or a senator from Tennessee, a Republican, being interviewed by one of the more liberal sort of interviewers on NPR, and the interviewer really had the guy in the corner about why won't you just sign on with the Green New Deal. This is one of the few Republicans who is like ready for a climate bill, like a serious climate bill, but he won't sign on to the Green New Deal because it's a Democrats' bill. And similarly, so there's this sort of pride of authorship, this strident, thing about it's mine. I want the credit. I'm not using yours, even though yours is 90% the same. And so there's just this impossible attachment to partly what you were saying, this attachment to form around whose bill is it that just we can't put up with anymore. I mean, it's Republican, Democrat, Green New Deal, Blue New Deal, whatever. It's like the issues are pretty clear, and we just need to get on with it and not allow all the sloganeering, pardon my French, and just get over it and get it done.
And to Nicole's point earlier, if you believe in what Nicole says, 10 years, that's not too many elections, folks. It really isn't. So I don't know if that political thing is the reality of the change. Yes, sir. Oh, Holly, you asked the question.
I'm Peter Nightingale, and I'm with Nature's Trust Rhode Island. And I'm a scientist, so I can't communicate, but I'll try to do it.
You were doing a fine job without the mic, sir.
Thank you very much. So let me look at the audience. I would like to get back to a question that Mark asked, namely, what does a couple of degrees warming mean? Well, let me tell you what it means. It means that over my lifetime, the number of serious extreme weather events has been multiplied by a factor of 25, roughly. Could be 40, 50, something on that order of magnitude. That's important. It's particularly important, and I'm looking at Monica, and I know where she lives, and I would like to also add that her kids, two of her kids, are part of a climate suit that we're holding against DEM, and I have a question for Janet Coit on that too. I have a whole slew of questions. But let me ask Mr. Fugate something. If the number of serious events has gone up by a factor of 25, and if FERC says we're going to ask that you judge the LNG facility in Providence by a 500-year event, make sure that it can withstand a 500-year event, the 500-year event has become a 20-year event, right? I can divide 25 into 500, I think. Did I do that right? Something like that. So I wonder how on earth CRMC, knowing what it knows, could go ahead and approve this project and not stop it, and it having the possibility of doing that.
I got one question per. I got to come back. I got a whole list. Sorry. Go on up here. Go ahead, Grover.
Okay. There's several factors that come into play. So the ability to review that project, because FERC, under the Natural Gas Act, has what's called preemption, meaning that they limit the state's review to certain areas. Under the coastal program, we were able to still review that under our coastal policies. Our coastal policies, we did apply what we were able to do, limited by FERC and by NOAA, to that project. The project itself, what we did look at was our mapping, and with the sea level rise rate during the expected life of that facility, which we limited to 30 years. National Grid wanted to go a much longer life than that, but we limited that facility to 30 years. And we applied a sea level rise rate and a 100-year event on top of that. It roughly equates out to about a 500-year event by the time we got through, but that's what we did apply to that. And unfortunately, we were limited. We didn't have the full breadth of our program to apply against that. And that's the way it happens sometimes, but it's the way the laws work.
Does Mother Nature know that?
Mother Nature does not know that, and I can assure you, she'll teach us many lessons before it's over with.
She'll teach the people of South Providence many lessons.
Exactly.
The people who live there and who are going to be impacted the most.
Exactly.
Have another question up here. Yes, sir. State your name and ask your question.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pete Galvin, and I'm here representing Nature's Trust Rhode Island. I'll be brief with you. I cannot discuss the lawsuit we have filed against Janet, because that would be inappropriate as an attorney. I can merely tell you that there is, and has been since September of last year, there has been a concrete, specific proposal with Janet about what she could do on her own. We don't need the legislature where the speaker blocks everything. We don't need, but we do need the governor's support. So far, nothing. The major problem right now in this state is the governor, Gina Raimondo, been pushing fossil fuels, continues to push fossil fuels.
Do you have a question, sir?
The question is, when are we going to see that change? When is she going to step up? We're not talking about some interstate agreement, but just for Rhode Island. When is she going to step up?
I'll respond, and I won't discuss the lawsuit, so thank you for acknowledging that. I will say that the lawsuit is pushing the direction that we need to be going. In terms of the governor, I do just want to point out that she's promoting clean energy and has a goal, 1,000 megawatts by 2020, and is aggressively working to promote renewable energy. Offshore wind, which has another set of issues, and the fishing community has a lot of concerns about. Solar, energy efficiency, where we're the third in the nation. And I know that the regional agreements that you're discussing don't seem like a panacea, but the regional greenhouse gas initiative is why we've been able to put tens of millions of dollars into energy efficiency. The energy we don't use is the cleanest energy of all. So I think working in some of these regional agreements where we can put a tax on carbon, put it back into decarbonizing our electricity and our transportation is something we should be doing. And I think we've got no disagreement that we need to be doing many, many things at once. And I think, I just want to say in response to some comments that a couple different times in dialogue with Monica or folks, I mean, I think one of the things that's tough, and just keeping it real, is that our environmental laws and our state agencies have very specific prescriptive laws, and sometimes we're not looking beyond those because that's our charge, and it is lawsuits and community engagement and dialogue and discomfort that pushes us to look more broadly, and I welcome that.
Who are you and what's your question?
Richard Staples. I'm a third-generation Rhode Islander, and I'm very proud of our state, also very concerned about climate change and the impact it has on me and my family. I'd like to talk a little bit about the communication side of things for a moment, because as was pointed out earlier, there are not only the folks who are in the auditorium tonight, but we have, in many cases, families, including children, and in my case, grandchildren who live here as well. And I feel like the communication that's trying to happen at the current generational level and trying to have an impact on us. And I wondered what some of the panelists might think about trying to communicate more around impacts on children and grandchildren who are young. So it's a little harder, I think, maybe for some to say it's 20 years from now when I'll be 90. But 20 years from my one-year-old grandson is when he'll be in college. And there is extreme events coming down the pike in the not-too-distant future. And I just wondered if that angle of things has been thought out, and maybe ways that that's being communicated now. Thank you.
So I'll take the first stab at this. So yes, certainly there are groups and particular communication strategies that are really emphasizing the effects on people's kids and their grandkids, because we all care about kids and grandkids. So this is actually a good example of thinking about a particular audience and talking with them about having a conversation with them, not talking to them, but talking about things that matter to that audience. So if you're having a conversation with a group of people who are really are young parents, for example, then talking about their kids and also about money. So I think it was Alex maybe in his opening remarks that said something about how we're looking at oh boy, now I can't even remember what this was. There was something about $200,000. I wrote this down somewhere and now I can't find it in my notes. But anyway, money. My point is, money is. Oh no, it was President Sanchez said something about how Rick is saving $200,000 a year because of using LED lights, right? So a lot of people respond to messages about money, whether you're saving money or making money or whatever. Other people respond about messages about their kids. I think something that's really interesting and wonderful that is happening now is the action and organization that we are seeing from young people on climate change. So the fact that this group here from the Sunrise Movement is here tonight and standing up and very bravely saying, hey, it's really my world and you are messing it up and I will not stand for that. I think that takes incredible courage, especially when you're young. It takes even more courage. And seeing kids all over the world striking on Fridays for climate, this is powerful stuff. And I think it I don't know, I'm guessing, but I think it could change some minds among older people, So anyway, that's a long answer just to say that yes, it is very important to think about how different people and different communities and populations are affected and addressing all of those effects.
Barnaby, do the arts play a role in this?
Absolutely, the arts can play a role in this. And the arts very often are voices of many communities, and all these communities need to be engaged. And I think there's actually pretty general agreement across the country about the potential of the Green New Deal. The problem is when you get to specifically defining it, there's a range of things that are included in that, but I think in general, most people feel that's the solution where we should be going. And so I can understand where, it's supporting different positions. We still need to work out what that is, but I think there's pretty broad support for that, as well as eliminating the fossil fuel industry. There's transitions and lifetimes. You were talking about the natural lifetimes of some of these installations, because we need to also have the clean energy in place in order to do those transitions. But I do feel there's pretty general engagement. I would love to see more young people involved with voting, because our current president in part got there because of a lack of young people coming to the polls. Someone mentioned that the current president's positions have really caused us to go backwards in so many respects. And this is probably the most, Sunshine, you were talking about, this is the complete involvement in these issues is really important, including arts perspectives, writers, musicians, rap artists, everyone needs to be taking this up and putting it as a central part of the future that we all need to invest in.
Monica, when you're engaging folks, do you find that it is an answer or a solution to engage folks is to get people to recognize that this is going to affect their kids? So it's not just, adults talking about the future, but it's talking about the future of your own children or grandchildren?
Well, of course, I use my kids as examples all the time, and not just from when they're 21, but from now, because it's the fact of the matter is that they are experiencing, and specifically in South Providence, we have the highest asthma rate, and so they're feeling it because, they are literally slowly getting, these toxic chemicals put in their body, whether it's by the water. We have high lead in Providence drinking water. And so I definitely use that. My kids, last year, one of my children was hospitalized 7 times due to her asthma. Again, because it's getting really, really hot. And, she went to play outside for a couple of minutes and she just went into, an asthma attack. So they're definitely feeling it. We're definitely feeling it every day. And I definitely think that we have to focus not only on the children, but focus on the children who are the most marginalized, that being Black, Indigenous, and children of color. So yeah, I definitely appeal to that. And I was also say, like, a lot of us in the community, we know these things are affecting our kids, and it's just heartbreaking that we know these things, and then we're like, well, the kids, and I have to have a balance because I don't want to put another burden on people in my community to say, our schools are crap, or, we have tons of police all over, and by the way, our air is polluted and our water is not good. So it's definitely something like a balance that I have to keep. But me having 4 kids. By the way, I've been texting a lot, but my son just went to the mall today for the first time by himself. So he's like texting me, what should I do? And I'm like, you're fine. So yeah, it's just part of what I do because I have 4 children and I work full time and. But yeah, it's a balance.